And ladies and gentlemen, we are live with our current events chat. If you're at home, lonely in bed, eating some pecan ice cream.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Fuck! I thought I muted that. Rookie mistake. Hang on. Fucked up my whole goddamn opening. All right, screw it. I'm Romeo. James, go ahead. The other guy's out smoking.
Bubba, that's about it.
We're going to have to wait for the Paul Lock mic to... No, we're not. Okay, so we're talking about some current events, things going on in the world that you should probably know about, but might not because you're too busy watching your goddamn sports channels. So, product placement. They didn't pay me for that. That's a freebie. So, what is going on in the world? Bubba, why don't you tell me what's up?
I have no fucking clue.
Oh, okay. That's common. So, we're going to talk about a few things tonight. We're going to go over some important features like red flag laws. And they're happening because you refuse to talk to your senators and your legislators and those people who the media likes to call your leaders, but they are your representation. If they don't represent you, then who the hell are they talking to? We're also going to talk about Russia, China, and things going on over in that world. A little bit of what's going on in Africa, a little bit of terrorism, a little bit of local stuff. So I guess we'll just get this show on the road. We're going to start with some world news. So there's been a lot of trade war stuff going on between us and China and things of that nature. Now, China at one point was struggling for capital, but now they're kind of getting to a point where they're actually outsourcing jobs. A lot of their jobs are being outsourced to Africa because that's kind of where they've started expanding to. They've spent billions in Africa as of late trying to pump up the economy, trying to help them out, trying to work out trade agreements, things like that. Some are saying it's also so they can basically turn them into debt slaves, kind of like what they do with us, only, yeah, I'll leave that up to you if you want to research that. So, as of late, China has been investing somewhere in, what?
Sorry.
Oh, thought you were asking something. Since we're at a pause, go ahead and introduce yourself.
This is Michael Roleski, just trying to help out where I can.
All right. So China has been investing a large amount of money. It's like 50, 60 billion, somewhere in there in Africa as of late. And that is increasing exponentially, and it's probably a lot more than that by now. I don't know. I keep moderate track of these kinds of things. China is now Africa's like largest trade partner, or right up there. Because, as I said, China has gotten to a point where they're making so much money off of consumer goods. Instead of making them there, it's actually cheaper to outsource making consumer goods to Africa to then sell to the United States. That's how ridiculous it's gotten. So they've been over in the Angola and Congo area trying to get oil because China is actually, at current, I believe, the world's largest energy user. I think they've actually surpassed us, which, if not, they're right up with us, right kind of in the same ballpark. So they've been working mostly in the lower part of Africa. North Africa's kind of gone to the terrorists. We'll get to that. The middle kind of belt of Africa, the Angola, Congo, Somalia, all that area, Sudan, I believe, that's all kind of being not really taken over, but propped up by China. And then there's been a lot of genocide going on in the South Africa and southern areas of the country, basically just kind of apartheid in reverse or some shit, but another topic. So another thing that they're doing in Africa is they're gaining farmland, and that helps them feed their people, which is a large part of what we've been doing we've been shipping topsoil over to China because their ground is shit. There's been a lot of trade with China with our pigs, things of that nature. So I'm going to drink. You guys go ahead and add in if you want to.
Well, the trading with the Chinese in Africa, I mean, right now we got embargoes going with China.
Yep.
I'm just using that as an example. There's an embargo going on with China. Well, they have the goods made in Africa and then shipped from Africa to the United States. There's no embargo. It's not made in China. It's not having to be shipped through China. It can be shipped to us. But on the same token, I mean, it's just like most of the stuff you get from China. It's going to be cheap, half at poor quality, lower grades. There's not as many restrictions and everything else like that that the Chinese have to follow by, and the Africans don't have to follow by because their trade agreements aren't associated with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's part of what's been going on. Like, where was it? I think Congo is one of the places that they built this massive hydroelectric dam that no one else in the world would help them fund because of environmental thoughts and concerns. China don't give a shit. I mean, they've got some of the most polluted rivers and waters over there in the world. Granted, they have a massive population of people. And if you actually look at a map of the population concentration in China, they're only in like 2 or 3 different places. And you're talking about 1 billion people spread out over 2 or 3 different areas. So that's one aspect of it too. And they don't have as much environmental regulation as we do, so they can pollute all they want. And then same thing just happens over there.
Well, it's just like for us here in Iowa. Muscatine is actually a sister city with the Chinese city, unknown name to me. But we are actually a sister city to a city in China. What they do is they send people over, they stay here, they redid a whole hotel just for them. And what they're doing is they're sending scientists back here to do soil studies so they can improve the soil over there. Mm-hmm. But then they have Africans ordering soil or stripping the land from Africa and taking it to China and doing the mass production of whatever food grain. I mean, you had all them problems with the Monsanto stuff. Environmental studies showing what the different grains that we use and how our hybrids are actually producing more for us than what they do for the Chinese. So it's beneficial for them to actually come here to steal that stuff and then take it back. Mm-hmm. But now you have them in Africa, and I mean, it's a very slippery slope once you start going down that road.
Yeah. It really is.
We cover into Russia yet, or is that?
Well, and that is another aspect of it. Russia doesn't really have as much involvement in Africa, but some. They're mostly Iran and with where the shit stirred up now, Syria. Got a comment. Muscatine has been sister city since the 80s. The dude was the leader of China, came here on an exchange program.
Yeah.
So Russia and China, see, back after World War II, a little geography lesson. If you pull up a map of Europe with Russia in it, Russia is a massive chunk of dirt. And then you have all of Europe here. Well, at one point, Europe was split down the middle. They had that thing called the Iron Curtain, the Berlin Wall, you know, whatever the hell you want to give it for a name. But all this over here was Russian. So they had all the NATO forces over here, and then they had this little buffer zone in between them and Moscow, which would be right about here if this is Russia. All right. Fuck, I don't remember how to do the screen share. If Isaac was here, I'd make him do it. But anyways, if you want to pull up a map of Europe, you can see that. And then,
Romy,
yes.
It's on the sidebar of our stuff. Remember, it's the little icon screen share.
Let me see if I can do this quick. You guys talk for a minute. It's quiet.
Well, you're the one with the historical references here. I mean, I do understand what you're saying. The NATO forces were back for a protected zone that Russia controlled. But you also have to factor that Russia also neighbors China, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in that sea that is not being covered.
Okay. So now That should be full screen for everyone, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So you can see Germany. Germany was pretty much the splitting point. You had Warsaw, you had the Czech Republic, Hungary, Ukraine, Belarus, all these nations over here. And then you see Moscow way over here on its own off to the side. So Sweden is pretty much a no-go zone. No one ever fucks with Sweden. Sweden never fucks with anyone. They're really the only true neutral in the world. Finland, the Russians just didn't want to fuck with because of that one badass sniper dude that I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But either way, so you have all of UK and France and all these people over here, but you had this massive land bridge in between everyone. And then Russia also had a lot more availability to the oceans. So you can see down in the far, far corner below Turkey, that's Syria, okay? That is one of their major partners for military and strategic purposes because that lets them out into the Mediterranean Sea. Because as it sits, their main port is in the Black Sea. But then they have to go through this little strait where Turkey and Istanbul and all that is. They're under NATO surveillance there. We can see easily what's going on because they pass through such a narrow area. Prior to, they didn't have to worry about that because all those people, like Bulgaria right above them, some great AKs still come out of Bulgaria because they were a major Soviet satellite. Not that I love AKs. Now, you go down to Syria here, they have a port as well that they can get out of. There's also, through Iran, they have the availability to get the sea there. If they don't have all of these lands anymore, which are most of them are now NATO countries, their naval power is blockaded effectively. And that's a problem for Moscow. They also have a problem because these NATO countries are right on their doorstep. They have, I think, Estonia right up towards the top, just below Finland. If I remember right, Estonia is still considered a member of the Soviet, not really the Soviet Socialist Republics, but they're still allies or partners. Let's see if I can shut this shit off now. Ha! Cool.
There you go.
Okay. So that's kind of the geography of it. And you can see where they used to have this nice chunk of land in between them and NATO, and now it's like 20 feet in comparison because Moscow is really close to the border. And they've also lost a lot of strategic naval advantages. So partnering with China kind of also helps them out in that aspect because they share a long border through the land with China that they basically, both of them up until a while back had armies stationed on that border because they kind of saw each other as a threat. But now they're seeing, you know, we've got all these other motherfuckers surrounding us because we've kind of done the Cold War in reverse. It used to be Russia was putting all their anti-missile and missile around us, like with Cuba. And now we're doing the same to them, mainly through Europe. So that's kind of what's pissing them off. But with China and Russia, they've increased a lot of how you can keep tabs on who's friendliest with who is through trade. There is, let me think, the World Economic Forum is one source. The I think it's called the World Trade Organization. There are groups that actually you can, the State Department, I believe, keeps records also. You can go on and you can see, you know, click on a country like China. Who are they trading with? Who are their biggest to least partners in this, okay? That tells you who they're most dependent on and who they're not. Russia and China have gone from 12 to 18% in recent years, and they're talking about being 25% of an increase in their trade over the next 10 years. So they're getting to be very large trade partners, not just with things like natural gas and goods and services and stuff like that, but and there's energy, there's resources, they've been trading people back and forth. The one thing that they don't have, like what we have with NATO, is a mutual defense pact. So if something pops off with Ukraine, was the example I gave earlier, between Russia and Ukraine again, China don't care. They're not getting involved. Just like if Japan and China get into it, Russia don't care. They're not getting involved. Whereas the flip side is if China starts something with Japan, well, fuck, we have an agreement. We have to get involved. And that was part of what fell apart with our trade deal back in the Obama administration is China prefers to have partners in the world instead of alliances, because alliances require mutual defense and things of that nature, and they just get ugly. China just wants to benefit economically. And we refused to sign into a non-aggression pact with China. And that's kind of how that fell apart back in the Obama administration. It's just kind of been going downhill since. It's been rocky anyway, but that was kind of a, hey, let's patch this up real quick, and then we refused, and yeah. Questions, comments, concerns?
I don't really have anything on my end. It's just tried looking up a map of Russia and China. We're trying to know where we haven't really got to it, but games have been where they're trying to host.
Go ahead and speak to that. I'll look up a map.
All right. I don't have all the details on it. I have a few. Russia and China try getting into an involvement where they could do their military practices, just like we do with the NATO organization. Well, they were trying to use one of their main missile yards that was on our side. But with them being so close to international water, they couldn't actually do practices from the reports I seen. Yeah, because it's
I am getting good at this.
Might not need Isaac.
All right.
What's
so
that right there? It's still part of the Russian, because they have military.
It's kind of hard to read because it's a little cockeyed, and you'd figure most of Russia up towards that top would be covered a little differently also. So,
well, no, I'm looking at the right there, Japan.
yep.
Yeah, hold on, Romy. This town here, you got the Viet something.
All right. I'm done. I have learned what I can and cannot do. Okay. So
No, you have this little town there. It's part of the Russian piece, but they were supposed to have a military base there. It's where the majority of their, what is that? The Pacific.
Yeah.
Most of their main fleet is harbored there, just like ours was in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
It might still be, but I'm just saying. Well, they want to do the practice between them and China since they can't get involved with the NATO stuff or whatever. Well, come to find out that it's actually in international waters, and the United States said something basically, and the practice never went on. But just the thought that Russia and China both becoming allies in that field, we were discussing it earlier. Russia has the comms, where China has the people.
Yep. And China really lacks militarily because they don't have as much of a command structure like what we typically know for militaries. They don't have that upper echelon kind of giving as they do and they don't. It's a fucked up mess, basically, from what I understand it. But at least compared to the days of Sun Tzu, they ain't shit on that. So, but still, I'm pretty sure they read that more than we do. So yeah, it was Russia, China, and Mongolia were all getting involved in this. And as we said before, Mongolia is one of those countries I really don't want to fuck with. Right? It's like going to war with the Turks or the Vikings. Fuck that shit. I'm out because they're scary. So yeah. But in any event, yeah. So what we're basically doing though is with all the talk, like in Venezuela is another interesting one because we had, I think it was like 100 or 200 Russian troops showed up in Venezuela to help them, to give them aid. and our president was losing his shit. Like, no, you need to get them the fuck out of there. They can't be there. Well, why the fuck not? Who cares? It's Venezuela. Let them do whatever the fuck they're going to do. They're more conducive to being ruled in a socialist communist style. And that's part of the reason why Russia and China are sitting here together. You're like, well, we got the same kind of governments. We've got the same kind of this. It's like, we got a lot in common. Maybe we should date. That's kind of what's going on. So, yeah. I mean, it's a fucked up way to look at it, but especially since they're still talking to Africa, they're still talking to Venezuela, they're still doing this, that, and the other. So who cares? Whatever.
Players of the game.
I mean, Mormons got like 5 lives.
Hey, aren't they still in cahoots with North Korea still? A whole shitload?
Not since the demilitarized zone agreement. That's what Kim Jong-un was mad about, that nobody would support them after they did the demilitarization.
Yeah.
Oh, I must have missed
that one. I'm not up to date on, but I know prior to all that, they were basically, it was kind of a mix. So North Korea was kind of like, if China wanted to start some shit, they could just make North Korea do it. And oh, look, I don't know, we'll get them under control. And at the same time, it was kind of a no, we don't want you starting shit yet because we don't want to fuck with these people. Get back here, you little bastard. So that was kind of the relationship there.
Well,
now
it's stepchild.
Really up to date, but
yeah, North Korea is kind of the redhead stepchild of the communist regime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, with the way that I understood it, the way I was viewing it, China didn't really want to do too much with them because they do not have an infrastructure like most other people. Their society is very strict, very militarized, but at the same time, it's how do you play that ball?
We have a couple of comments. One is this seriousness. As serious as we typically are. Take that as you like. And then, have you seen that so-called training video from them? I assume you mean the Russia-China thing? Or is that the Iraqi video where they're like trying to do jumping jacks? Because, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple different ones.
Yeah.
Which training video are we referencing here?
I'm not sure. Unless the training video is referred to as LOL. But I'm sure a lot of them have that, so we could probably sift through about 50 different videos.
Yeah.
So, either way. Moving on. So that's kind of what's going on in that area of the world. Africa, like I was saying, terrorists, the Al-Qaeda network is kind of moving into North Africa more. I believe it was, the Venezuelan one. No, I saw it, but I didn't bother to. Some of that shit is painful to watch, and a lot of it, that's okay. Dogs are awesome. A lot of it is, it's kind of like when Antifa and all those fuckers were putting out their training videos, and it just showed them like shooting a bunch of stuff on a hillside, and they're like, yeah, we're non-binary. Okay, well, that's cool, but let's face it, if we want our enemy to underestimate us, what are we going to put out there? Are we going to put out there some of our badass training and shit, or are we going to put out us fucking off with guns? There are people in the Antifa group know their shit just like we do. And there are fuck-offs in the Antifa group that think they're badass commandos just like we have. The problem with that, I guess we'll get back to Africa. Let's just dive right into the Civil War bullshit. So, basically the problem with that is we've got all these patriot groups that are sitting there thumping their chest like, oh, the Civil War, it ended in like 5 minutes because we kicked their ass. Okay, think about this. The first Civil War, there's a lot of similarities in between then and now, okay? It didn't just happen overnight. The Civil War gradually took up over time, as things got worse and worse in between North and South. This was not just over slavery. Open a history book that is over 100 years old and read that motherfucker. There is a big difference in between the fact of history and the revisionism of history. I'm going to leave that there. I have old history books for a reason. They're more accurate. Now, I don't just talk to myself. I actually have people that are wiser than me that I talk to for this kind of information. They're friends, they're mentors, they're guys who have been there. Every single one of them is saying the exact same thing I'm going to say now. We are kind of at a point of no return. And if it does come down to a civil war, it's not just going to be us fighting us. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be nasty, just like they always are. But when you have America tearing itself apart from the inside and the rest of the world wanting to tear us down also, well, if you saw the two biggest bullies on the street corner fighting with each other, when are you going to run in and kick them in the nuts? Guess what? While they're fucking distracted fighting each other. We have a ton of enemies, some that we've created and some that we have just because we are who we are, all over the world. To think that we're just going to shoot it out with ourselves over the course of a couple hours and then, the whole conservative militia is going to rise supreme and shit. It's fucking stupid. It's a fucking Rambo fantasy. So the biggest problem I have with this is the lack of reality, which is brought on, of course, by movies and shit like that. But if we start fighting each other in a bloody war like that, be it us versus the left, us versus the evil government foot soldiers, or whoever the fuck you fantasize about late at night while you're stroking your AR-15, it doesn't fucking matter. Within days, I guarantee you, we're going to have NATO involvement because they're going to want to come over and keep the peace. And that's going to invite in foreign militaries. Well, thump your chest some more. Those blue helmets are easy to shoot at. Well, guess what? They don't wear blue helmets. If you've ever seen the videos of them operating overseas, they don't really fuck around that much. Granted, you see a lot of the fuck off stuff from different areas, but it was, who the fuck was I watching? I want to say it was a South Korean troop of NATO guys, which we trained directly with them. It was someone from Asia. I remember that much. And they were kicking some ass over in Africa. Yeah. Saul Alinsky, Chaos Through the Top Down, Bottom Up, Rules for Radicals. It's a very good book if you haven't read it. Also, A Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. 1984 is quickly becoming nonfiction, as is Ayn Rand. Atlas Shrugged. Atlas Shrugged very much outlines what's going on in our government right now with the cronyism. But back to what I was saying. The biggest issue that we face is we've gotten to a point now where we would rather argue and fight with each other rather than realize we have similar interests, common goals. We all want the same goddamn thing. We just have different ways of doing it. But through another one that you should view, they're on YouTube still, Yuri Bezmenov. He did a series of interviews in the 70s, 80s, somewhere around there. They're long videos, but if you're willing to sit through a 3-hour-long movie watching a bunch of people in superhero costumes, sit there and watch that. He perfectly outlines the subversion tactics that the Soviets used back in the day to basically destroy us from within to get us to where we are now. I mean, that shit was done 30 years ago, but it's playing out exactly as he said, and it was dismissed back then. So the biggest problem that we face is we're willing to fight each other over the stupidest of shit, but we can't sit down and actually talk to each other anymore. You get someone from the left and someone from the right, from both extremes, all they want to do is kick the shit out of each other and insult each other and one-up each other, which that's part of the rules of social media too. It's actually antisocial. You have this buffer in between you and them. There's a meme going around where, the little kids punch the other little kid in the face from the comic strip and said he forgot he wasn't on Facebook, so I popped his ass. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. Thoughts, or I'm going to just keep going on a fucking hour-long rant. You got to break me up every now and then. Plus, I need a drink.
You're doing just fine.
But you have to admit, you're very thoughtful about this.
Yeah.
Well, I read a lot.
Why can't we just go back to the old days?
Well, and that's the thing too. The old days, a lot of people see as a regression, but truth be told, progress sucks. It's destroying our families. It's destroying our nation. It's destroying our social fabric. Mental asylums. Okay, so I'm an EMS. I'm an EMT, and I will get a phone call at midnight. It's like, "Do you want to run a mental patient to Council Bluffs? The fuck are we driving them clear across the state? Oh, because there's no other fucking facility available. That's why. The other nearest facility is 14 hours in the other direction. Why? Because they've been shutting down mental facilities and letting people out because someone has to vote Democrat. Just saying. I mean, if you don't want free shit, you got to be mentally challenged. Of course, a lot of the fucking Republicans that are getting in, they're no better.
No, you got to play on both sides of the fence.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same token, I mean, it's unfortunately the society that was created. I mean, like I said, this generation, or as I've said before, this generation sucks. And I'm going to honestly admit, I'm part of it. I mean, but still, you don't see a lot of these guys out here trying to repurpose this, trying to repurpose that. I mean, yeah, you have the guys trying to reuse different things. I mean, how many guys think about using a pipe to bury whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Or systems.
Well, and that's part of the design too. And yeah, the comment was made. The two mental health facilities that were shut down by Branstad because there's no money. That's because the Iowa healthcare system has what they call, I think they still call it Iowa Care. It's basically the state health insurance. It never makes any money. It costs a fortune. And it's all there because mostly people are not responsible enough to deal with it. Now, some people, my brother's one, he's a cancer survivor. I think he just now, what is it, like 15 plus years later, actually can get regular health insurance. But he still had to pay a premium to the state. It was nothing compared to what it costs for his treatments and everything else. Yep, Title 19, that's the other one. That's the other name for it, yeah. But, I mean, you've got a lot of people that are just low income and on it. Some deservingly, some are just fucking welfare rats that are milking the system. They refer to that as their job. It's the first of the month. I got to go to work and get my benefits. No, you don't. You got to go to work and steal from me because I actually go to work. You're just stealing shit. That's all it is. You don't need that. Go get a fucking job. There's plenty of them. Anyway, hospital worker. See, we know this shit. We have to deal with it. I mean, it's not that I hate people, all of them. There are great people out there, but there are some people that I just want to hit over the head with a pipe and go, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Not really hard, you know, just enough to kind of ding them a little bit, like, huh? Anyway, okay.
Lucas Slugger does the same thing.
I always prefer wooden bats.
That is
Bag
illegal.
of oranges. Bag of oranges won't leave any bruises.
We can do torture and punishment in another chat. Let's move on.
Hey, I'm up for that chat.
All right. But anyways, go ahead.
Well, it's just to cover you had very broad spectrum on that one.
Yeah.
Trying to recap a little bit. The healthcare system they have here in Iowa sucks. They shut down the mental facilities. I mean, they've been shutting them down for years. I can remember back in elementary school, they were talking about shutting them down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm 32, or I'll be 32. And I remember that from back then. But with the society you've created, everybody's emotional well-being is more important than the physical well-being. And then it's also the factor of it's the individual's well-being is more important than the whole compared to what it was years ago, where you had to make sure that you took care of your home, your family, and everything else. I mean, heck, I did it for almost a year, 2 different times, trying to support me the girlfriend at the time, fiance now, 2 kids, you can't do it. I mean, both people have to work just to try to make a decent living, and we're still trying to scrape by.
Mhm.
That's the society that's been created. And I mean, I don't have no cheap McDonald's job or Walmart job. I mean, we both have decent jobs. It's still a pain in the butt. But
And wages have been stagnant for a long time. I mean, they've barely gone up. The cost of everything is going up because of inflation, but wages can't keep up anymore because they've printed so many fake bills and thrown them in the market that the value just dropped. I mean, back in the 1970s, you could go out and buy a brand new, just plain Jane Chevy pickup for, was it $5,000 to $6,000? Now it's $50,000 or $60,000, and you can get a plain ass fucking truck for, I think they're around 30. Like if you want to get a fleet model.
yeah, I've been looking.
So, but that's also part of it too. That's kind of how they suck you in. I bought my car when I bought it was 16 grand. It was a pretty good fucking deal for what it was. So I went ahead and I got it. I got it earlier than I planned on, but I liked it. It was one of my dumb decisions, but it's a good car. So doing the math on it, if I were to only make my payment the way they want me to, that car would cost me $26,000. No one does math like that because they all end up going out, and a lot of it is, like you say, it's emotional. I deserve this. No, you fucking don't. You go out and you find some brand new fucking car, costs $35,000, and you don't look at how much is this going to cost me overall. You look at how much is this going to cost me every month. And that's where a lot of people end up getting into problems. Not all of them. Some people are just fucked from the word go. I mean, like you say, if you're trying to raise a family in this time of age, it's fucking next to impossible because kids are expensive. I know this because my brother has 4, and I've had to loan him money, even though I'm half broke most of the time. But it's not fucking easy, and it's half by design so that they can crash the system and start over, and it's also half by people just are not responsible anymore. I mean, you have people that have racked up. Well, look at fucking college debt. Let's go back to attacking this generation of millennials. They're not getting marketable skills. They're not going and spending $100,000 to become a doctor. They're going and spending $100,000 to learn feminist dance technique. What the fuck is that? You stand around and scream wearing your fucking pink hat? What the fuck? But that's where the government has fucked us again too. Because if you
we just lost James, you got a visual.
Huh?
I think we just lost James, you got a visual.
Well, if you look at the timeline, okay, when the government started getting involved in guaranteeing these fucking loans for college, what happened to college tuition rates?
They skyrocketed.
Because guess what? If money's coming from the government, government will never run out of money because they can always steal more from the people. So we can charge more, so we can make more, so we can win. That's their philosophy. Because they're getting paid, and the government's picking up the tab. And college loans and tax debt, I believe, are 2 things that if you file bankruptcy, you're still fucked with. So congratulations, you did wrong. But it just goes to show. And like when government took over, when they worked on this whole takeover of the healthcare industry, that's a large chunk of the economy for the government to start running, for the government to start guaranteeing payment. But if you look at the quality of service when dealing with like Title 19 or Iowa Care or whatever, they don't pay out the actual amount the doctor requests. That's why medical rates are going up, because you have all these state involved things. Like if you go out and you get some test done and it's $400, right? Let's send it out to the insurance company, and the insurance company negotiates it down. That's a given. And if you have more hospitals, like our hospital just joined into a large network, so we have more bargaining power at the table with these people. Meaning, when it comes time for the insurance company to fork over that $400, instead of only getting $200 for services rendered, our hospital will probably get $3 because we have a larger network behind us now. So with government insurance, it's the same exact fucking thing, only it's just as bad. You know, no, we're paying you $200. I don't care how big your network is. Here, take it. Go away. That's pretty much how government healthcare works. That's a very toned down version, but My head hurts just thinking about it and researching it. So that's all you get. Do your own research. Don't take anything I fucking say here or anywhere else for granted. Do your own goddamn research. It's not that hard. In fact, I'll go into that next. So, yeah. See, this is kind of a mental enema for me. I can just blah and get it all out. So anyway,
well, we lost a lot of it when they got away from the gold and silver.
yeah.
I mean, I'm going to bring this back up with the China thing. I mean, right now, China and Russia are both buying the crap out of gold and silver. I mean, the price of gold and silver has gone down.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were in the middle of that last depression, I was buying ounces for $28. Now you can go down to the pawn shop and pick them up for $17.
I think spot price was 15, 16 last I checked.
Yeah. I'm just saying, no.
Well, and silver is real currency. Gold is also real currency. Our fiat money is just that. It's a piece of fucking paper. There was actually a time in our history, it was just before the revolution, where the colonial script was the name of it. It was a fiat currency, but we actually cared about our economy back then, and we didn't have centralized bankers who were robbing all the nations of the world, which there might be a reason why Sweden's never involved in wars also, just saying. Do your own fucking research. Bank of International Settlements. So when you have people who actually care about their economy, a fiat currency will work because it worked here for many years. And then we got fucked by the king again, which, fun fact, at one point, a stick with notches in it was currency because that's all the king would accept for taxes. They were called tally sticks. Look them up too, okay? Paper money is just that. It's a piece of paper. And if you're dealing with the gold standard, yeah, we used to have that. Our currency after World War II was still backed by gold and silver and real tangible things. That's how, after Europe was fucked from the German invasion and all that shit, we were next in line just because of the way things were lined up after that. Gold price per ounce is $1,292.80. So, where was I? Yeah. So after World War II, the League of Nations all got together, because that's what NATO was back then, and said, you know what? We're just going to base everything on the dollar because the dollar is strong still and you guys are doing good, and you guys just promise never to fuck up and make it fiat. And well, we said, oh, okay. Well, that changed. And ever since then, if you track inflation, ever since they've been able to print money like mad, and the banks have been able to do what's referred to as fractional reserve banking, meaning when you put $10,000 in the bank, they're going to loan out $90,000 off of that $10,000. Look up the math. It's kind of fun. It'll make your head hurt also. And that's $90,000 if they actually have a reserve limit set. Some banks don't. So they can actually loan out that $10,000 a million times over because they only need a fraction of what they actually hold. And that's how interest creates money out of thin air. Congratulations. Good night, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, I mean, we could talk fucking economics for a while. The benefit that we have right now, need to take a drink. So, the benefit we have right now, during the last recession, depression, whatever the fuck you want, I prefer to call them depressions, I hate. Recession is a softening of words. You ever see that George Carlin skit where he's talking about shell shock down to combat fatigue, where you just keep adding syllables and make words sound better? It's kind of what recession, depression is. Yeah, depression just sounds sad. It is. Fuck off. So, the benefit that we have right now is ever since, I believe, late summer, early fall, our GDP has actually been going down. That's gross domestic product. For those of you who don't know, I might as well explain it, is gross domestic product is basically the amount of finished products sold within a nation. So finished product is like a car, okay? A car is the finished product. The steel that the company buys to make that car doesn't really count. There's a different matrix that they use for that bullshit, but I don't know it as much. So GDP is actually what is produced within the nation and sold within the year. Now, ours has been going down. Partly, consumer confidence is a little bit on the lower side because of the stock market, which whatever. And then partly debt is on the rise. There's actually another bubble brewing with, as we were saying before, with the auto market. There is a lot of toxic debt coming up in the automotive market, but Ford Lending and GMAC Credit or whatever the fuck they call themselves now, they're still loaning money. They don't give a shit. They're making money. So look for that to be the next bubble. Not that I'm going to be right or I'm some economic genius, but that's just the way I'm seeing it. I could see, I was in the housing market before it collapsed. I could see shit slowing down. I could see a lot of empty buildings where there should have been people living in them because we finished them last year. You could kind of see that creeping up when you're in the industry. It's a little easier that way. Gross domestic product is also measured in old currency values, not modern. So there's a whole fucking thing there, but it's economic mumbo jumbo. The main benefit we have right now is unemployment is not on the increase. Unemployment is still down. If unemployment starts going down, up, let me get my direction straight, all right? GDP is going down. Unemployment is going up. That's bad juju. That means something is about to go pop, right? If GDP is up and unemployment is down, that's great. That's good for the economy. Both going up, both going down, okay. So there's kind of a whole matrix there that, again, you can look into on your own if you want. But basically, that's kind of our security blanket right now. Is there is a lot of available work out there. It's not being filled, and some of it's not the best, but it's out there. Yeah.
Well, a lot of it's also in the trades, though, too.
So what are you saying? Now you do new construction still?
No, that if people would actually get some jobs in the trades where they don't have all this fucking student debt, then they'd be a lot better off.
Well, and I've not just seen memes, but I've actually seen stories where people are starting to look more to the trades because some of it's stupid. Like, okay, Iowa, the state we're in, we have the right to work. Bullshit, okay? To be an electrician, you have to have a license. There's a lot of technical know-how there. You don't want to light a place on fire. I get that. Education on the trade is very good. Plumbing, same thing. You got to have a license. You got to worry about people drowning in their own shit. So, okay. Heating and cooling, mechanical trades, like that. You got to have a license. Why? Same as the other ones. So the government can get more money from you. Okay? They make money off the education that you're required to take every year. They make money off the license that you're required to have to work every year. When they switched that over, I was a few months away from qualifying for my master license. I didn't get one. Even though I had been supervisor at a company, I was running my own show, all this other shit. Yeah. Yeah. And you have the right to be canned for wearing the wrong colors. It's stupid. And it's just like the state came down on our paramedics. You have to be nationally registered. Otherwise, you're not going to be a paramedic in the state anymore. We'll make an EMTA. Our service, because of that, lost 4 or 5 paramedics because they'd been doing this shit for 20 years and they couldn't take a fucking test on a computer. That was their downfall. I've seen these people working codes like it was a fucking another Tuesday for them, but you can't be a paramedic anymore because government. I would still trust these fucking people to shove a tube down my throat and do CPR over any of these new fucking recruits because they've been there. They've seen this shit. They know this shit. Me, in my career path, when I was in HVAC, I'd only been in it for 4.5, 5 years almost. I had already done a ton of shit. But the state said, oh, well, you don't know what you're doing yet. So you have to take more classes. Yeah, I hate the NREMT too. Fuck that shit. You have a patient that's dying of chlamydia. What color does purple smell like? What? That's an NREMT fucking question. All right? You ever want to take that test? Just guess. So, okay, we're getting sidetracked here.
I think we've been on a sidetrack.
I figured it would happen. I mean, it happens when we have a fucking schedule, so yeah.
Yeah. James, can you elaborate on what you were trying to say before Romy decided on his?
Well, because like with trades, you can get on-the-job training, and like your employer will probably pay half, like me. My employer's paying half my journeyman. I mean, if people would just get a job that you can pay like half and have like maybe $5,000 in debt that you can pay off in your paycheck at so much a week, people wouldn't have these freaking outrageous bills for college when they want to go get all these master's degrees, bachelor degrees, when
Yeah, but
you really need them.
I see where you're going with it.
I mean,
It's another one of those factors of it's a society we created.
exactly.
You do not have people that want to actually work with their hands. You don't have people that actually want to go out there in the middle of a rainstorm to try and change out a T pipe on the downspout. They'd rather call somebody in and have them do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
because they're too.
What's that? You're cutting
They're
in
too
and out.
They're too fucking lazy. I believe that's what he's trying to say.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that was like my experience when I started in the trades. I had done body work since I was a fucking kid. So sheet metal was a natural thing for me. And the job just kind of happened. And it happened that I was good with sheet metal, and that's where it took off from. I got my entire career was on the job training. I didn't go to a trade school. I didn't go to any of that. Now it's gotten to the point where you have to go to a trade school in most cases in order to have any kind of a leg up to get the license. Otherwise, you're going to spend, I think it's 5 years as an apprentice, and then you can get, no, I think it's 2 or 3 years as an apprentice, and then 5 years as a journeyman before you can get your master, at least in HVAC. I don't know about the other trades.
HVAC is 4 years. It's
4 years?
As
okay.
I think electricians are the same 4 years.
Okay. But yeah, you've got all those years invested into this career field. Granted, there's money to be made in it. I mean, it pays well. But at the end of the day, how many people are going to want to stick that much into a career field unless they really do plan on going that direction? And like you say, we've raised a generation of lazy ones who are so used to being coddled by mom and dad that they don't think they ever have to take care of themselves. Because once they graduate from mom and dad's house, then the government's going to be their mom and dad. And they don't need to work. Why work? I get all this money for free, just like my allowance.
But it also helps to have your hands in a lot of cookie jars, though, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do some electrical, I can do some drywalling, I can do construction, automotive. I mean, I can do all that shit, but I mean, I know plumbing more than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, only because of my career choice. It's easy and I'm good at it. I'll be the first to admit it. I hate my job some days, but other days I love my job.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, any of us, I mean, on the board here and future can also say the same thing. I mean, you can ask me anything about a tank car, a railroad tank car. I can give you a pretty good idea if it's something that we ran through our shop. But a hopper car, gondola, stuff like that, I don't know nothing about. Box cars, don't deal with them. I mean, we all pick up the different trades. I mean, my dad told me when I was a kid, who's more important? The guy that knows a lot about a little, or the guy that knows a little about a lot?
Mm-hmm.
And that's honestly the viewpoint I take on it. I mean, like with this, we're trying to cover the news and the different aspects of the situation that we're going to be having to deal with in the next 6 months to a year. I mean, we haven't covered most of the topics that we've had on the discussion yet. But, I mean, these are all viewpoints that we all have to take into consideration, especially if we're looking at ZERT as a future. How many of our kids are actually going to want to do this stuff? The society that we've created is completely anti-gun.
Yeah. And I still harp on this to this day. As far as I'm concerned, the biggest problem is our school system. We have allowed the school system to become what it is, and we're not involved enough as, I mean, even me, I have nephews. I don't have kids of my own, but I have still corrected. I have a chess set. It's Civil War. It's one of those big fancy ones. And my nephew, at 7 years old, and me would play chess because it was anything to get him out of the fucking video games. And he likes chess. It makes him think. He's a smart little bastard, I'll tell you what. But he always wanted to be the North, which I was fine with being the South because they were gray. So, not that I'm biased. Well, one day he says, I want to be the government because they're never wrong. Who the fuck told you that? My teacher. Your teacher's a dumb bitch. We need to have a talk. And we sat there and we had about a half-hour talk as to why his teacher was filling his head full of shit. And I got in trouble. You don't need to be telling him that. He's only 7. Bullshit, they're telling him that, and he's only 7. That's called brainwashing. That's how it starts.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother does a lot with re-educating the kids when they come home, but shit like that slips through the cracks. And when I pick up on it, no, the government is not omnipotent. They are not the God that they want us to believe they are. It's a group of, my favorite line from one of the Serenity series is, Shepherd Book. A government is a large group of people, notably ungoverned. I've totally butchered that line, but you get the idea. Okay? I need to watch that series again. So when you have teachers that are telling kids this shit when they're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, because we have to have them in preschool now, because pretty soon, once you fucking have the kid, oh, hey, he's been alive for 5 days. Why don't you have him in mandatory government education? Because he's 5 days old. Don't care. Get him in school. Because we need to get that mind early. Because the sooner they get those minds and the sooner they warp them into believing bullshit, the easier it is for them. I mean, I got in so much trouble correcting my teachers in school. Civics, that guy fucking hated me. I mean, every fucking day I'd walk in and be like, shit, this little bastard again for half a day. Like, yeah. And that was junior fucking high. It's like, bro, no, that's not how it went. And I can prove it. I'll bring the book in tomorrow. But you don't have that anymore. Because I got in trouble because instead of respecting the authority, I bucked the system. I corrected them. That's why if you ever get into, one of my favorite things to see is if you get in an online argument with someone, notice from here on out, not going to have kids. My history teacher hated me. Good work. At least on the one part. Breed, I don't care. That's a personal decision. But so I was in a discussion dealing with education at one point, and this woman comes in, well, I have this degree and this degree, and I've been a teacher for 5 years, and I don't see where you're getting your information. Well, of course you don't, because you're part of the system. You've sat there and you've outlined your authority and why you should be listened to over me, and then you list your reason. If you pay attention, all these academic types or all these people that are educated in how to argue this way, they always start with their credentials. It's like, well, I'm a board certified fuck you dude, and this is why I say this. Well, that's not how this works, okay? You've bought into one section of the system, you've created a bias, you've allowed them to milk that bias, and you're not questioning it. You're not even willing to question it because you have this fancy piece of paper over here that says you know shit, when in truth you don't know shit. Me,
RG, why am a teacher?
Dude, I've thought about it. You know what I've actually thought about is there's a facility up north of me that would make an awesome fucking school. And as much as I don't want to get into the Marvel fantasy comic movies, I mean, I enjoy them, but it's, yeah, it would be like Professor X's fucking school. And I would love to open that shit up and do like a badass kind of a, look, these kids here, they're smart. We're going to take them and invite them into this school. But from what I've looked at, starting a school is multi-millions of dollars, and I am nowhere near financial for that. I'm going to get in trouble with school. Some D-bag kid went on a gun control cause, went in on gun control because he was a kid that went to Sandy Hook, said enough. Oh, well, there is that too. There's all different kinds of ways to form those arguments, but and everyone's experience is different too, just like that. You know, I was there, man. Well, okay, I've heard the guys from Vietnam say that, and I've heard the guys from Vietnam say, went over there, got shot at, shot back. I mean, everyone's different. And those stories are funny when it's the guy who was like, so this hand grenade flew over here and I just kind of threw it back, and that's why he lost an eye. It's like, whoa, what the fuck? Some of those guys are crazy, but in a funny way. So what the hell was it even? Oh yeah, schools. The problem is we don't get involved enough. And a lot of our political problems are all local. I mean, federal, yeah, they can fuck with us some, but look at the government shutdown. If you didn't work for the government or you didn't rely on them, the other one had to re-educate his kids since day one. Why send your kids to fucking homeschool? But once again, one parent would have to stay home and school them while the other one's out making the money. And yeah, economically,
That don't work.
So being involved in local politics is a very important thing. And it's not just in the legislative, but in the school boards and shit like that too. PTA, school board. I mean, people like us are the people who should be running for those offices, but it's set up to where, once again, you have to be filthy rich in order to get in there. And then you're set for life. I mean, you do 1 or 2 terms in fucking office and you don't have to worry about shit again. And that's not how this was designed. But, it's a system that's set up to where they allegedly work for us and they're our employees. But when was the last time you got to tell your boss that you were going to get a raise? Usually you got to have a good fucking reason for that, because I've done that. I've walked into my boss's office, look, you're going to start paying me this much now. Difference was I told him I was going to start running his company and he needed my help. There's a difference. He recognized it. In our case, no, they're running this place into the fucking ground. Oh, we need 6 more figures on our salary. Why? There's 6,000 more for our salary. Why? You already make a fuck ton more than anyone else. As far as I'm concerned, a politician should make the median income for the people they represent. You want to make more money? Get your district richer. Fuck you. I don't even want to say her name, but you know who the fuck I'm talking about. The socialist communist from New York, okay? She's a prime example. I don't have enough money to live here until I get paid in February. I think it's February when they got their first paycheck.
Yeah, didn't she do a GoFundMe page?
Yeah, and fuck, you're going to get our tax money. Let's just give you a few thousand more. Who gives a shit, right? So, yeah. Get paid. It's actually $174,000 currently, I think, for basic Congress. $174,000 a year, and a lot of these people have been in there for 20 years have net worths in the millions. But Trump, who is already a billionaire, we need to see his tax returns. His net worth went down running for office, not up. Right? Every other politician in the world, it's gone up. And I'm not a fucking Trump fanboy. I don't like a lot of what he's done, but he's done a lot of good also. That's another topic we can get into later. I don't give a fuck. But I mean, either way, they're wanting you to be distracted by this while they're sitting there insider trading, which would get us thrown in jail. They would get, like their expenses are all covered. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's not even counting the bribe money, which is how they become millionaires. And Harry Reid and all them made a big spectacle of it several years back during the Obama administration, where, look, we've just made a law that says we can't insider trade anymore, even though we've been doing it for the last, umpteen million years. Fuck you people. But look, we can't do it anymore. What was it, a year later they gutted that entire law? Dog and pony. That's all it is. Google just replied, I am making homemade bacon using hot dogs in a rolling pin. It's healthier when you make it yourself. Lips and assholes, they're delicious. I had a discussion with that with the nephews this morning too. I don't think they're going to eat hot dogs again. I am a bad influence. That's all I'm saying.
You're not a bad influence. You're a really good influence.
I have my moments. All right. Getting on to the local aspect. So, kind of touching back at the Civil War. You've got all these chest thumpers sitting there with all this gear and all this crap thinking that they're an army of one. Well, you're not. Okay? That's one thing to think about. Secondly, What good is that going to do when the state foot soldiers, the people who are no longer following their oath, kick in your door in the middle of the night because they're just doing their job, and they come and they take your guns and your life because they don't give a fuck. They're there for a paycheck. So people will sit there and say how they're going to fight in this big civil war and thump their chest and all this shit, but you're not fighting now. The battle is going on right now. It's a little more of a Cold War, but there's still been shooting involved. People are getting shot every day over this shit. And be it left versus right, police versus us, whatever verses you want to put in there. And part of the reason why they want us thinking the police are the enemy is because, well, guess who's going to be their biggest asset when they're ready to make their move? I know the police up in my area. I'm friends with a lot of them. Small community. Being EMS, we're all in the same fucking team up here. In the cities, there's a massive divide in between the people and the police, and that's a problem. Because the police are either your first line of defense or they're the first ones saying, fuck it, the state pays me. Not all cops are bad. One or two are bad out of an entire fucking department, and the entire department is bad. The police swear an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and some of them are actually taking that oath seriously. Some of them, in states that you're not surprised in, like Maryland and New Jersey, they don't give a shit. They're just there for a paycheck. Not all of them, once again, broad strokes, but enough. There was a case dealing with these red flag laws in Maryland where a man was shot because, why the fuck should I give you my guns? Right? Fuck you people. And they killed him, trying to serve and protect the shit out of him. All right. There was another instance in New Jersey the day after the law was signed in, or 1 or 2 days. I'm pretty sure it was the day after. The guy's kid, fuck was his name? It was last July. Started with an L. I can't remember his damn name now. But that all started. His kid was in junior high. Anyway, his kid was in junior high. I don't remember how old his kid is, early teens. And him and his friends were talking about what are the school security was lax, and what are we going to do if someone comes in here and starts shooting the place? How are we going to survive? And someone went and told their... Okay, hang on. You guys know how to block anyone? Because this person's just in here stirring shit now. There we go. I don't like blocking people, but yeah.
Make America gay again? What the fuck?
Yeah, it's another one just in here trying to stir shit. It's an extreme left or an extreme right, and I'm not going to fucking deal with that right now. I hate to block people, but you know what? Every now and then, if you're just going to be that stupid. If you want to come in here and have an actual conversation, that's one thing. I'm not going to block you for being lefty or righty or any of that shit. But if you're coming in here just to stir shit up and be stupid, well, fuck off. I have better things to do. Anyway, so the New Jersey police come that evening because of an anonymous tip, because fuck your Fourth Amendment. And first, and so the New Jersey police come in and they knock on the door and they say, "We want your guns." And basically the guy, I don't believe he was home at the time. He might have been, or he had to come home or something. So they basically argued back and forth. He knew his rights. And instead of the police confiscating his weapons, they ended up going to a relation's house until this all got sorted. And I don't know if it's all been sorted or not. I've lost track of the story. In Maryland, it was kind of a similar situation. The police received some anonymous tip from some family member. And yeah. And as far as the comment goes, they either can be or can't be. This could be broadcast from anywhere. People in China could be watching this shit right now and be like, why are he talking about our economy? crappy Asian accent. It's okay. I'm also part Asian. That's why I'm a panda. Ask my friends. So, I'm a little bit of everything, boys. Anyway, look, the problem with red flag laws, all right, aside from the obvious fuck your Second Amendment, all right, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, nor prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the people to peaceably assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances. Guess what? Fuck your First Amendment, okay? You don't have one anymore, because if you say the wrong thing, well, guess what? We're going to come take your guns because what you said is scary. Yeah. So
It's back to the emotional instead of the...
And that ties right into the emotion. I am scared. Therefore, the government needs to save me because I don't want to do it myself. It's scary. Second Amendment. Well, duh. I'm not even going to get started on that. Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their houses, their persons, their houses, their papers and effects shall not... Wait. Fuck, it's been a while since I've actually thought of this. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon oath or affirmation, but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, describing the place to be seized. Wow, I suck at this. Describing the place to be searched, the persons or things to be seized. Well, due process is out the fucking window because now you're guilty until you're proven innocent, okay? So that's out the window. I don't even believe they had a warrant in New Jersey. Yeah. So forget about being secure in your house, your places. No, you can't have guns anymore. We're just going to come and take them because someone's scared of you. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless indictment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall any person be compelled in any criminal case to witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property to be taken without, I butchered that one a little bit at the end too, it's been a while. But either way, so here's the thing. You're no longer able to have your Fifth Amendment because your property can be taken for public use, which is public safety, without just compensation, okay? Fifth Amendment, gone. But we already knew that, all right? Don't have to bear witness against yourself? Well, guess what? You can't have witnesses either, all right? That's the Sixth Amendment, all right? You can, yeah, impartial jury. Most of these are being done just tribunally, all right? It's just like if you've ever been in traffic court. You go before a judge, and that's that, all right? The judge makes the decision. Witness against you? It's an anonymous tip. Fuck you and your witness against you. You don't need to have a witness against you. The state is the witness against you because someone, a noble citizen, said so. All right? Seventh Amendment. Well, guess what? If we had common law anymore, that would still be valid. But seeing as how we run off of tort law and code law, government makes up codes. It's all preemptive. Instead of, well, here's an example of code law, okay? In common law, if I run over some dude at a construction site, I have to pay damages because I damaged property, his body, okay? Your body is your property. Now, it's actually the first piece of property you get. You're born with your very own piece of property, and then you can gain more as you go. Take care of it. It's the only piece of property you have, all right? Don't treat it like a fucking amusement park, especially in your teens and 20s, because you pay for it in your 30s. Not that, ask me how I know. So, anyway, you have this guy that's been run over, What's he going to do? He's going to expect me to pay for damages. Okay, I broke his fucking leg. All right, well, I got to pay his medical bills. I have to pay for while he's off work. All right. What code law does is that comes in and says, guess what? Just in case you run over someone because you broke this law that we arbitrarily made up while in this area, we're going to charge you twice as much. Oh, you actually hit someone? Well, we're going to fine you because you damaged our property. Yes, your property of the state. Enjoy that fact. Do some research. And you're going to have to pay his damages too, because we're not going to. Right? So common law, civil law, tort law, admiralty law, whole bunch of different styles. You can look that up. All right? Eighth Amendment. This pretty much, a red flag law destroys every amendment out there except for the 9th and 10th, and that's only because they haven't gone federal yet. Once they go federal, fuck, 9th and 10th, who cares? Third Amendment doesn't really qualify for this. 7th Amendment, like I said, doesn't really qualify for this. All right? First, clearly the 2nd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th. The 8th also covers, the 8th Amendment has, what's the word I'm looking for? Cruel and unusual punishment. Okay? Punishment for what? What fucking crime? What crime did I commit? Okay? Think about this, though. One of these days, a chat like this will be on the air, and just by me saying this, someone will be scared. He might have guns. You should go check. Well, guess what? Just for speaking my mind, for using my First Amendment here on this platform, a couple years from now, a couple days from now, they could kick in my door. Hey, we want all your guns because someone's scared of you. And that's all it fucking takes now. We don't have that law in our state yet, but give them a couple weeks. And that's why it's important to fight at your state level, because all those battles are happening right now at the state level. All right? We had Iowa Firearms Coalition had the Second Amendment Day last month. I wasn't able to go to it because I've been driving all over hell anyways, and it was in the middle of the week. It's a piss poor excuse. I missed that fucking fight because I'm a bitch. That's the real reason behind it. I wasn't able to go. I could have made time. I could have tried taking more time off from work, but I've already done a lot of volunteer work, and I've taken a lot of fucking time off already. So a lot of other people did, but that's the thing. If we're not fighting those battles now in the legislature, making an appearance, letting those people, there was a Democrat in this state that put up, was it a fucking tweet or something on Facebook or something stupid? How, well, I see all these people and they're sitting there armed, because we can be armed in the courthouse now, and just there to intimidate us. Well, yeah, dumbass, do your fucking job. Protect our fucking rights. That's why we put you there. You're not there to tell us how to live. Someone take over, because I'm going to start ranting. Fair warning. I see both of you there with the mute on. You got to talk.
Well, it's another one of those. You're just going down another rabbit hole, and we're just trying to see what the bottom looks like.
I'm good for that. All right.
Hey, I was trying to call amendments and everything and do a little looking.
Huh?
I was trying to do some looking on the amendments and everything.
Okay. Yeah, because I know look, the 10th Amendment is almost dead. I mean, the 17th Amendment, where they changed the senators from being elected by the state legislature to being a popular election like Congress. Well, fuck the states. They don't need a voice in Congress anymore. That was the original intent. The House was to represent the people. The Senate was to represent the states, because the states used to have a voice. But they lost that after the Civil War. During the Reconstruction period, they got stripped of all their power because the state lost against the Fed. That's what the real repercussions of the Civil War was. Slavery was on its way out in this country anyway. That was part of it, but that wasn't the only part of it. So, yeah. So that goes, once again, people don't need to know that kind of history, because if they do, they might see what's happening. And we don't want that. We want them distracted by their sports and by America's Top Model, because that show is fierce. Is that show even on the air anymore? Because I've been using that joke for fucking ever. Someone needs to correct me on that. If that show is still on the air, I need to know. Otherwise, I need to come up with a new show for that, because I'm a little dated. I haven't had TV in years. Yeah, what can you do?
Hey,
Shut
I
up.
don't have TV either. I mean, the most headlines I get from you.
So I don't know where to interrupt you.
Well, and you know, I love how these politicians will sit there and say, "Well, we don't know the real intent of the founders." Really? Because we've got their correspondence, right? That's all in the National Archives. We've got some documents. Oh, what were those called? The fucking Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers that usually get forgotten. Okay. Funny story about that, Federalist, Anti-Federalist. If you look up the definition and you look up their intent, it's kind of reversed. So they were kind of lying to us from the beginning, but that's another, do your own research. Because it was Federalist 29 where they fully outlined the intent of the Second Amendment, and 42 or 46, I can't remember off the top of my head. I wasn't planning on going down that rabbit hole, but here we are. There was, and those are just a couple. It was in the Anti-Federalist too, I believe. Fuck, I want to say it was Brutus wrote about that. But the Federalists are lined up in numerical order, and then the Anti-Federalists are more hodgepodgey. There was Brutus, a Federalist farmer, things like that. Anyway, you've got all this fucking evidence out there. We've got these pieces of shit in our hand right here. What do we do with them all day? Nothing. We scan Facebook. You've got libraries of information in your fucking hand. No one uses it.
Yeah, but the problem is,
all goddamn day reading news stories and shit, but yeah.
it's just like you said before. Having a 100-year-old history book is more valuable than what you actually get on the phone. I mean, the re-education and everything else that goes on, or the relocation of information. I mean, there was a photo of a textbook. The Second Amendment rights are for the militia to have firearms or something along that line. That's what the actual textbook said in regards to the Second Amendment. Yep. It didn't have the whole display of it. But I'm saying is your cell phone's the same principle.
Yep. And then everyone thought that the National Guard is the militia. Really? Because the National Guard was formed in 1906. Wasn't it? It was right around the First World War. I don't remember the exact date. Maybe it was just after. But, you know, you're talking about, okay, we've got 1776, 1780 something that the Constitution was ratified with the Bill of Rights, which was just an enumeration of what you already own. It is not granting you a fucking thing. Okay, remember that. When Bill Clinton, or not Bill Clinton, my brain's going everywhere now. When George Bush Jr. said the Constitution's just a goddamn piece of shit, he was right. Burn the fucking Bill of Rights. I don't care. It doesn't change a damn thing. If you want to go through and strip them out, fuck, you already have. Doesn't matter. It's just an enumeration telling the government you cannot specifically fuck with these things right here. Hands off. That's all that was. No one knows that anymore, though, because they have their constitutional rights. Your rights do not need a qualifying word such as constitution or civil or anything like that, because all it does is weaken it. You have rights. That's it. Technically, now you have privileges because you need a license for everything. You need a permit to protest. You need a license to possess a weapon. You know who else needed a license to possess a weapon? Slaves. That's where the gun permit came from. Marriage license. All that shit started with slavery. You want to fight some injustice? Fight that shit because you're a slave. Okay, I've got to stop. I'm really going to go off on a fucking tangent.
You already are.
I know.
We've done 8 different tangents. That's why I said I'm trying to figure out what the heck the end of this rabbit hole is.
It's not.
Oh. I think we're in the 12th rabbit hole.
I lost count after 5.
Yeah.
I was just trying to see if this one actually had a bottom to it.
No. Okay, so I was going to talk. This one I should be fine. Let me get this, and then I'll try and end on the other one. Yes, I need more water. I'm getting a little hoarse. So, local legislation. I only have a couple. All right, I wasn't planning on doing this part of it, so I didn't prepare much. We have one that's called the Family Defense Act. It's basically, I'm only going to be able to give you cliff notes. I don't know as much about it. The Family Defense Act is when you're driving to the school to pick up your kid, you don't have to like unload and lock up your weapon or anything like that. You can keep it on you and not worry about becoming a felon. So that one is passing through our local legislature at this time. You should probably look to that. There's IFC, the Iowa Firearms Coalition. There's also, if you go on to the Iowa legislative sites, the House and all that shit, you can look through their current legislation going through. These people are local. We can actually contact and talk with them a lot easier than we can the federal level representatives. They're representatives, not leaders. End of the rabbit hole. So there's contact information listed all over the state sites. Go on there, figure out what district you're in if you don't already know. Figure out who represents you if you don't already know. You can get their home address to mail them letters. Don't knock on their door, that's unadvisable, okay? Mail them letters at their home, mail them letters at their office, call them, set up a meeting with them. I mean, I've worked previously, years gone by when I actually was a lot more active, to set up meetings with local legislators at the time, like, dude, we need to have a sit down because this needs to be gone over. And they will do all they can to avoid that, especially if you know what you're talking about, or if you have that crazy, I'm going to jump down another rabbit hole kind of a mentality. So, yeah, and email the motherfucker. Do something. Now, granted, there are times when your voice isn't going to get heard, but it's not going to get heard if you're not saying a goddamn thing to them, okay? The Second Amendment being added to the Constitution of the state, that's flopped. And from what we understand, it's moving again. But call these motherfuckers and tell them. I don't care if they're left, right, or fucking up or down, all right? If they're in your district and they're there to represent you, even if they're the other party, who gives a shit? Call them. Hey, this bill going through, I want you to support this, or I'm going to do all I can to get you out of this office, okay? Try not to frame that like you're a crazy person. Make sure it's you're going to get voted out. Okay, use that sensitive talk because these people get scared easy, and we already had that discussion. But if you're not getting involved locally, you're in deep shit because these people can actually harm you. During the shutdown, before we got off on a tangent, and if you didn't work for the government or you didn't live off the government, how much did that fucking 30 days affect you? Didn't affect me shit. Why? Because I don't live off the government. They still stole money from my check, okay? I still got that cut right off the top that went to them. Everything just functioned the way it functioned. Some people were out of work, but guess what? If you work for the government, especially the way our economy is going and the way that our money is managed at the federal level and in many states, and you're not prepared to be out of work for a month, that's piss poor budgeting on your part. I don't feel bad, okay? If you don't have some kind of an emergency fund for that, which you should have an emergency fund whether you work for government or not, but yeah, that's a whole nother story. And we'll probably get to that when we have our discussion on something along those lines. I don't know. And yeah, already contacted the government about that one. Awesome. Do the work at the state level. Work at the federal level when you have to. Like the bailouts, they're a perfect example. That shit was going to happen because the bankers needed our money. It was just another way to fleece us. But here's the thing. The largest fucking theft of American taxpayer dollars in American history. Guess what we did? Pissed and moaned. That's it. Greece, they were dragging these fuckers out in the streets. Or not Greece, one of those countries.
France.
Anyway, yeah, I think Greece, they drug the bankers out, didn't they?
I think so, if I remember right.
No, it's been a while. France. You know, we talk shit about France all the time. Oh, we surrender. No, they don't. Seen that yellow vest shit? They're pissed. They're out there doing stuff. Us, we've got admitted communists now in government. We've got Islamic typicals. I have a difference of opinion about Islamic extremists. Islamic extremists are the ones that actually want to coexist and live peacefully. Everyone else is just regular because that's kind of what the religion teaches. Not all Islamic or Muslim or any of them people are bad. I mean, I've got Muslim friends that are good dudes, but I actually don't know any Muslim women. So I can't speak to that end of it, but I know like 3 or 4 Muslim dudes, and they're all cool as shit. No, I take that back. I take that back. I met the one's wife. She was cool. They were fine. They're from Somalia. Doesn't matter. Anyway, now, getting involved locally now, if you don't do it now, guess what? You're just going to sign up to be part of the fucking slave trade later because you're not going to fight them later. Right? You're not going to be able to, for one, because you're not going to have these people around you who know you, who trust you, and who understand It's all about being on the same wavelength. There is power in numbers. That's why they want us divided against each other. That's why there is white versus black and Republican versus Democrat and Mexican versus white people and fucking pink versus blue. I don't care. Pick your fucking thing. They're dividing us in every different way that they can. Because a nation divided amongst itself will fight itself. And then when the real enemy's coming in hovering over us, we're not going to see them motherfuckers. We're going to be too busy fighting each other. And they're going to swoop in. They're going to take all the power. Because all it's going to do is cause more unrest, just like all this other bullshit that's been going on. Because we're focused on each other and not them. So figure out what's going on with your state, local legislature. Get involved. And if nothing else, run for office. I mean, my brother and I were going to run for office before the governor of Iowa came back in. Fucking Branstad. Had paperwork started, all that shit. We're going to go out and start getting signatures and everything. And then, oh, Terry Branstad's running. Fuck, no one wins against Branstad. Fuck it. That fucking asshole. But we figured, what the hell? Between he has the charisma and the pretty face, and I have that looky here fucker attitude, but I also have the knowledge as to how things should go. So it's kind of like I'd be lieutenant governor telling him, this is what we're doing, go tell these people that, and I'm going to go over here and make it work. This is kind of the plan that we had, which, it is what it is. We probably should have continued trying to push, but it's kind of one of those where anyone who knows Branstad in the state of Iowa, it's like the Clintons in fucking Arkansas, right? He's the governor of this state. That's all there is to it. Motherfucker can come back from China or wherever the fuck he is now and just be like, hey, guess what? I want the governor again. Here you go. Because we're stupid like that.
Can we put a term limit on governors?
God damn it, here comes the rabbit hole.
I'm just asking a simple question.
I know,
there isn't actually anything on the books that restricts them from how many periods. The only one that has a restriction on how many terms they can serve would be the president of the United States.
Yep.
And originally it wasn't actually done that way, but one of the presidents was actually eligible for his third term, said 2 terms was enough, and then that's when the whole amendment started. But other than the president, there is no term limit on anybody in any seat of a representative.
Other than,
House,
I think he actually
state,
did get in the third term because I can't remember who it was, but I think he was
Carter.
vice president, then he was president. No, it was pre-Carter.
It was World War II, wasn't it?
Yeah. Because I think he actually served a third term and they decided, wait, this is too much. We can't do this. And then we got term limits, if I remember right.
Was it Truman?
Do your research.
Yeah, do your research. I'm not going to look it up right now. Do your research. We could be wrong. And I've got so much shit rattling around in this head, it's a wonder it doesn't explode some days.
I'm going to say cave in.
Yeah. All right.
So many rabbit holes going through that land right now, it's not even funny. All right. So, yeah. Get Do we have
involved.
anything else on? Do we have anything else on local? We did the red flags.
No, because those were really the only 2 that I come up with real quick.
Yeah.
I know there's more going on, but I've been kind of lax on my local as of late. So.
Well, everything's been smoke and mirrors with most of the things that you're seeing. I mean, one report gives you yes, one report gives you no. You don't have 100% accuracy when it comes to the actual logistics of what's real information, what's not.
That's the beauty part about our media. So you have the left side talking points, the right side talking points, more of that division, okay? The media is largely left-based, and you got a few right-side-based, but trying to find someone who will actually just sit there and say, look, this is what's going on. This is what's going on, and this is what's going on. Make up your own mind. Do a little more research if you want. That shit don't happen. I mean, if you sit back, if you shut the news off for like 6 months and go back to watching it, you can see all they're doing is spouting bullshit and opinion with a little bit of what they've decided to call fact cherry picked in. Because the unemployment rate, there are several different measurements of that. If you actually go to the Department of Labor and look it up, there's like fucking 7 different ways that they measure that. Maybe 5, 7, I don't remember. But either way, well, this number looks best for the point that we're trying to make, so we're going to use that. But what about this number here? This number is accurate. No, not anymore, because we're going to say this one is. Okay. And both sides do it. But that's where doing your own research comes in. Multiple sources and not the same fucking thing said by the same different people, or the same thing said by different people, okay? Find...
No Wikipedia.
Huh?
No Wikipedia.
Yeah, no Wikipedia. Wikipedia is god-awful. I could go on Wikipedia right now and edit that to say that you had a fucking penis coming out of your nose, right? Anyone can edit that shit. Anyone... If you want to use it as a guideline to kind of start moving in a direction to research something, yeah, don't take it at face value. It's bullshit. And anytime someone wants to reference Wikipedia to me when there's a debate or a discussion or anything like that, you haven't done research, right? As much as I give scientists shit, because I had a friend who was going to be a scientist, he went to school for it, and the first thing his professor told him was, your job as a scientist is to answer a question with a question so you can get more grant money. So keep that in mind with scientists, but it's also one of the best places to get information. I recently did, for my college, I'm doing shit for telecom, I did a study on Wi-Fi radiation, 5G radiation, and the studies that have been going on with the World Health Organization, cancer organizations, things like that, where they have registered 5G radiation as a cancer-causing carcinogen. And we're being bombarded with it every day, and they want our wireless network to go to 5G. Even though there's clear evidence showing reproductive harm and cancer-causing wavelengths with all this shit and the way it reacts to the human body. And these are all scientific papers that have been peer-reviewed. Much as I talk shit about scientists, guess what? That's probably one of your best places to find that information, okay? Now, you can go on to some conspiracy website that's just going to sensationalize it to make some money on their YouTube channel or something, but if you find multiple sources that are telling you the same thing, they all carry credibility, and they're all different. They're not related. That's how you find information. If you want to see what the economy is going to be doing, okay, go to the Department of Labor, see what's up there. There's federal departments for everything, all right? There are departments that keep track of the economy. The Federal Reserve, as much as they're stealing from us, they used to actually print a thing. It was QE4 charts, I think, which is basically the money velocity in the economy, right? And that's like blood, okay? Money is the blood of the economy. If the blood slows down, it's like you're losing a lot. If the money speed, or that's blood pressure, basically. If low blood pressure, high blood pressure, that's bad, okay? If the economy shrinks and you have less money supply, look to how the Great Depression happened and they pulled money out of the economy, okay? You lose a lot of blood, you lose the economy. You have too much blood, right? Too much money in the economy, you get hyperinflation, right? That's a way that you can keep track of what the economy is doing, how you can have an outlook to it. If you're going to be working in the stock market, trying to invest, good place to get information to see whether or not you should be getting ready to buy a bunch or whether or not you should hold until you can sell a bunch to buy a bunch later, right? Sell when it's high, buy when it's low. The same. So that's basically the cliff notes as to how to do your own research. Don't sit down and watch the news at night or read the paper or some story on your fucking news app and say, oh, okay, so that's what's going on in Syria. No, that's not the entire story of what's going on in Syria. That's what they want you to know about what's going on in Syria. Why are we there? Why is Russia involved? What kind of trade does Russia have with Syria? Well, that goes back to that whole, the economic sites I referenced earlier, okay? Go check out trade. Does Russia and Syria have a lot of trade? Do they have other economic ties? You can find all this information out on your own. It just takes this little thing called work and research. So do your own. You're a lot smarter for it. Awkward silence.
Oh, we're just make sure you're done.
If I pause like that, I'm done. And that is a please step in and say something before I continue. Because, yeah.
I really don't
Sorry.
have anything to ask. One of those times we need Pat.
Yep. See, that's why I was hoping he would come on, because anytime there were to be a break like that, he would definitely have a comment or something. So, oh well, we miss you. I hope you get your croc problem fixed. So sad.
No, I'm just writing stuff down and looking at stuff.
So, what have you been looking up while we're talking about all this shit?
Well, I've been trying to look up some of this red flag stuff and a little bit of everything else. But you keep going down rabbit holes faster than I can look shit up.
Yeah,
Well, then
it's
don't pay
escaping.
attention to me. Just phase me out. That's what I do. So what have you found?
Well, not a whole lot. It's all about the same shit of, like, with the Iowa stuff. They're trying to put it through. As of February 14th, they're still it. I mean, different files. And it's all I'm seeing is a bunch of horse shit so far.
Yeah. Well, and like
Nothing really giving me good statements.
in the list that I just showed there is SF-47, a bill relating to youth deer and youth turkey hunting licenses. A bill or act requiring county and city property assessors to stand for retention at election. Oh, that'd be interesting. I know there's one, it's a youth hunting act that's coming up or has been up to where basically, the state, once again, we don't think you're responsible enough to teach your children how to hunt, shit like that. I think there was something with handgun hunting in there also. So,
Yeah, the kids can actually use a pistol for like deer season if they're
yeah,
under the age of 21, as long as they're being accompanied with an adult or something like that.
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's
and there was recently we passed the law, I guess, to where if I were to teach my nephew how to shoot a handgun because he's this age, I can go to jail. But since he's this age, I'm fine.
yeah.
What the fuck? So, but yeah. All right. So,
We
you
got any
guys have anything you
questions?
want to add?
I don't have anything. I think we got most of the stuff covered that we were trying to attempt to do, and
Yeah.
then some.
My fault. My fault. See, this is why I like our regular tasks, because I'm on a task. I have to stay on this task. This one we're going in these directions and then tangents. It happens. So, all right, Bubba, do you have anything to add?
No, I was just looking at a House bill, HF 149, real quick.
What's that?
That's the latest red flag bill introduced in Iowa.
Can you show its status?
And I'm just trying to cipher it, and I am confused as fuck.
Okay, you know that site that I do all my writing on? There's a thing on how to read code law on there. Good luck.
Yeah,
Because
gee,
I
thanks.
guarantee it's amend this to say this and amend that to say that. And is that how it's reading?
Pretty much.
Yeah. What was the number?
HF 149.
All right, HF 149 in Iowa legislature. Go ahead and look that up. Do some research. Call your legislator. Tell them what you think. You want them to come to your door and steal your shit without a warrant? Because that's probably what's in there.
I mean, I'm pretty much fried from plumbing code, but I mean, I can halfway understand this. Which is a surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the point of laws, though. Make them obscure and hard to read so you don't know what the hell's going on. But once again, Atlas Shrugged. Now in nonfiction.
Oh, they're making it so this way there's also fees for trying to make a complainant too.
So who would pay those then?
Let's see here. Determines the has the ability. The respondent or the person getting stuff taken away.
Naturally.
Which is fucking bullshit.
Well,
I didn't catch the comment.
basically the way he's reading it is the state's going to come and they're going to steal your shit based off of the anonymous tip that you're a threat because someone is scared of you, and then you have to pay the state for taking your shit.
Well, there's a. I don't remember all the information on this case. That's why I didn't bring it up earlier. There's a gentleman. He had this red flag seizure. They came in, confiscated all his firearms. Come to find out, the accusation was false, and yet he's still 2 years out or a year out, $15,000 just trying to pay for the lawyers and everything just to get his stuff back.
Mm-hmm.
And he still hasn't received anything from it. And they've already thrown it out, indicating that it was a false claim.
Yep.
But this guy was some big sports hunter or something like that. They came in and confiscated everything. Like I said, I don't remember all the details off the top of my head. It's just...
Yeah. And not a lick of it is at all in jiving with the Bill of Rights or the Constitution, but no one knows what's in those anymore. I mean,
well, everybody's driven by the emotion, like we stated at the beginning of the show.
Because the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are out of date, and we need to update them so that everyone gets a living wage.
Yeah. But those are different rabbit holes, and I'm not climbing down that one because I don't want to get you started.
Yeah, I'm trying to quit. Anything else on there, Bubba, that you found?
I mean, not really. I mean, they're trying to also introduce an emergency extreme risk protective order.
Okay, wait. James, go ahead and repeat that one more time. Just the title of it.
Extreme risk protective order.
Okay. That's actually... This is where we got to be careful at, because that's actually the red flag. It's a different name.
Yep.
But under the same concept as red flag, this way they can push it through. Just like how in, 1990, they had the assault weapons ban actually walk right through. Nobody had any disagreement because they didn't know.
Mm-hmm. That's just like it. The Affordable Health Care Act. What about that has been affordable? But it sounds really good.
Yeah.
I swear they pay people just to come up with good names for this shit. So, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it has to be by the sheriff. Oh.
Yeah, the county sheriff's the one who usually takes care of the cases in regards to it.
Oh, they're actually saying you're going to get a notice for it, too.
Yep.
Yeah. You're getting served a notice the same day you're getting, they came in and confiscated all your firearms.
Does it say anything about requiring a warrant? Have you seen that?
No, I have not.
But the thing is with the red flags, that is their warrant. That's what they're considered a warrant. That's the way they can bypass it.
Yeah.
So in technicality, they don't need it.
And they don't need it anyway since the Patriot Act, but that's another rabbit hole.
I don't know. That's why I'm trying to keep it sweet to the point, not bring up extras.
Oh. They're giving a firearms and firearms permit surrender, too.
And what does that mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm looking here. Court shall order to immediately surrender to law enforcement. So basically, if you have a permit to carry or a permit to acquire any such firearms, you are required to, within 48 hours of said notice, to basically give it over to the issuing authority.
That's not a surprise. We're going to take your guns and your ability to buy more. Because you have to have a permission slip from the state to get a gun.
Yeah.
At least a handgun.
Buy under the black market like we do.
Well,
we don't do that. We don't do that.
I said under the black market. So we're not the black market. We're under the
We don't participate in that kind of thing.
Nope.
We have no clue regards to anything of such nature.
I don't even know what the black market is.
Well, I can give you a cliff note here. When a criminal buys a gun, it's usually been used many times over, and they just pass the same dirty gun back and forth over several members of the different gangs through an intermediary. So a guy will get busted, he'll have a gun that's been used in 14 different shootings, but he can't be tied to it.
Oh, they're going to give us a hearing. Oh, they'll give us a hearing. They're going to store the firearms, and they're going to return said firearms if need be.
Yeah, but here's the catch. They don't give a timeline on how long or what's the time period. Hey, where's this whole do your own research?
Oh, the hearing's within 3 business days.
That's at least speedy.
I'd say 3 days gives the groundkeeper enough time to dig up the dirt.
Well, as far as the return of firearms and unclaimed firearms, it doesn't say about a timeline of returning firearms. It just says law enforcement agency in possession of any firearms surrendered shall return in any such firearms upon request if the respondent is eligible to possess a firearm. That's all it says. And then if they're unclaimed, well, of course they get to keep or destroy said firearms. Well, that's bullshit. I don't want
They usually load up the vehicle and they take it to alter salvage and they run it through the grinder.
Or take it to benchmark and have them do it. Or benchman.
I think it's funny about that, how everyone was so quick to jump on the fuck Benchmade bandwagon, but why? I mean, who gives a shit? Company, they can do what they want. Buy their shit, don't buy their shit. Why don't you get that angry when they make these laws that cause all this to happen? That'd be nice.
All right, Thumper.
Yeah, that's actually plain English.
Yeah. Well, there are some cliff notes of the HF 149, our soon-to-be red flag law, if you don't get off your ass and do something about it.
Whoa. For hearing determining. Oh.
More intrigue?
A family member of the person getting blamed may by motion request an extension of the extreme risk protective order within 90 days. Why the fuck would somebody do that?
Spousal rights.
Yeah, but why would your spouse give a order to extend it?
Any number of reasons. And honestly, there doesn't even have to be a reason in some cases. Just because reasons. But they still have to wait to get their permit if they really feel that there's a threat from their spouse.
Yeah, well, some spouses are crazy.
Yep. Well, we've been going for a couple hours. About time to wrap this one up. But you've got some more to add.
Infinite extreme risk. Oh, so they can actually expire too. And then the firearms have to be returned.
Oh, well, that's good. What's the expiration date?
Let's see here. Terminated. Holding any firearms surrendered by shall return any upon request. I don't see anything about time frame on that. It just says that they shall be returned. Notwithstanding code, blah, 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 disposition of seized property, sale of certain ammunition or firearms, may that remain unclaimed, of course. Yeah, well. Of course, that goes for them destroying said property.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're going to treat it as a Class D felony, too.
Which part becomes the felony?
Looks like if you become under the red flag law, you get oh wow, there's a lot of reading here. 5-year probation. If you're caught in possession, shipping, transport, receives, or anything like that, it's a 5-year probation or a Class D felony.
And that's if you're caught with a firearm while you're under this extreme risk shit.
Or ammunition.
Or ammunition. That's lovely. Oh, hey, I forgot I had a bullet under the seat in my truck. So now I'm a felon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
that we've seen that happen before.
Wow. Dear God. How can people be so stupid to think of this?
Feelings and emotions over logic.
Well, evidently somebody's awfully fucking butthurt. They must have a fucking 50-foot dildo up their ass. Yeah. Oh, and they're defining firearm as any ammunition or offensive weapon.
Broad category.
Yeah, hell. Yeah. That'd be my pocket knife.
Yep. Under our law, that falls under it.
Oh boy. Hmm. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
My brain hurts. I'm done.
See, this is what I go through when I'm dealing all this shit, looking up all this, trying to figure. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, they're trying different motives, or they're trying different techniques, different names, same agenda.
Mm-hmm.
This way, you're paying attention to the red flag law, but you're not paying attention to what was that? RS 145 or RF 145?
HF 149, House File 149, the Extreme Protection, such
Yeah.
Extreme Risk Protection Act.
Yeah. That's what the one the NRA was supporting through.
Yep.
That's the one that they were sitting there trying to push through before. But like I said, it's same thing, just different name.
Yep. And it's just like the case in New Jersey. That kid wasn't saying anything at all remotely threatening. He was more concerned over his own safety because of their stupid ass laws and their lack of security. Well, we're coming to take your guns because your kid's worried about getting shot by someone else breaking into the school that we protect with a sign. It's not even bulletproof. I mean, go down any gravel road, those signs ain't bulletproof. Go right through. You can see that shit all over. But yeah, what can you do besides get active and push back?
Well, the thing is
protect schools.
You're going to start a rabbit hole we don't want to start right now, James.
No, I'm not even going to get into that one. That's a whole other mess. But
a simple statement.
It is, and we'll leave him there.
Yeah. No, it's the factor of actually not just being proactive. As you were stating before, not being proactive as the Rambo effect, or Rambo, thinking you're all Billy Badass and everything, you're going to take on everybody. And I mean, we know the layouts, we know the profiles of firearms that are going to be used against you. You really don't have a match. I mean,
well, and you can have that $2,000 AR-15 that's semi-automatic. You can have the $800 red dot sight on it and all that shit. In Poland, in the Warsaw ghettos, when they were fighting the Nazis, they were using handguns as sniper guns. You've got a handgun, you got a knife, and you can get close enough, guess what? You just got a rifle.
Yeah.
Why spend a fortune on a million different guns so you can arm up for a revolution when you're not even trying to get in touch with your legislator and saying, hey, I don't like the way you're representing me. You need to do a better job. Or we'll find someone who will do a better job next election. These people like that job because it's money and it's power. They want to retain both. And yeah, the ones who wrote the bill are the Bloomberg cronies. We're fighting big money.
Yeah, we're fighting.
But we win that with numbers.
You're fighting against big money. I mean, anytime you do the research into any of these kind of red flags for the state legislator or even the federal, I mean, Bloomberg's actually sponsoring the federal one. You're fighting big money. But at the same token, if you're not fighting now, you sure in hell ain't going to fight later.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what we're trying to get at. Is you got to be aware of the situations around you, always having your situational awareness, trying to understand and take into consideration all the different aspects that might affect you. I mean, they go with red flag, they come seize your guns, 2 years down the road, you go to try to do it a revolution. How are you going to do it? Nobody has a firearm.
All because you were sitting at your house fantasizing about the upcoming Civil War instead of trying to prevent it. Which, granted, we may be at the point of no return, and it may be inevitable, but I'm going to do all I can to fucking stop it. It's just what I do. And we do that with education, and we do that with people getting active. If If you know what in the fuck you're... Brief statement. I'm not going down a rabbit hole, I promise.
You're fine.
If you try and fight without knowing how, you're not going to win. All right? If you're in MMA or like with us in shooting guns, dry fire, then live fire, then movement drills. You have to know what you're fighting against, know how to fight it. You have to have that knowledge in order to be able to protect yourself, and then you can fight. If you try and just jump right in the fight and you don't know how to protect yourself, you don't have that knowledge, you're going to get your ass kicked, right? I don't have the knowledge to fight against a professional MMA fighter. I could probably hop in the ring with an amateur fighter and do okay. Maybe win, maybe lose. But I have that knowledge base. Once I gain more knowledge, more experience, I can step up and fight the bigger guys. That's how that works. If you don't have a knowledge base, it's, what the fuck is that guy? Shapiro. Ben Shapiro. If you ever watch his debates, that motherfucker knows stuff. People can't go against him and win because he knows shit. And they're just using the emotional, the bullshit statistics, all that. That's why they can't win. That's what we need. We need to have that knowledge base in order to know how to defend ourselves against this kind of stuff in order to fight back. And
otherwise, we're going to like with pitchforks.
Yeah. And if you don't know where to stick the pitchforks, well, yeah. And you cannot educate those who do not want to learn or listen. That is true. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But that also means you don't try. I've been wanting to do the same. I've got Matt Bailey. I've been wanting to train y'all in hand-to-hand, just never happened. I live too fucking far away from everyone to make it a regular thing.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while since I've been in martial arts of any kind. My hands are rusty.
Hell, even if we
got as an
work
instructor through the Army. I learned some of that too. Stuff's fun.
Hey, we could do that then.
Huh?
We could do that when camping.
Well, we've talked about it before, but just never came around. All right. Well, either way, y'all kind of got a cliff note as to what I do when I'm reading shit and how I research stuff. And that's usually my Friday night. I'm sitting there on fucking World Trade Organization website. Who the fuck are these people trading with? Why the fuck are they forming this alliance? What the fuck is going on? It's fun. I like knowing things. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy. Put down the video games, turn off the TV, bring the Advil, because your head will hurt. And I know what you're actually mentioning that. Yeah, so. All right. Yeah, start with the Constitution and Bill of Rights. Many of us are lacking. I mean, I've taught this shit to people who want to listen, and even I struggled with remembering the rights and the amendments and all that. It's because I haven't used them in a while. Back when I lived in Des Moines, brief rabbit hole, I had a friend who used the Fifth Amendment to keep the cop or security guard at a festival from taking his beer from him. We argued the Fifth Amendment. You cannot take this from me without compensating me for it. So give me $5 and you can have this beer. Otherwise, it's mine. I'm taking it. And he kept his beer because he knew the Fifth Amendment, because he listened to my endless rambling on. I have a dummy knife and a blue gun too. That's for one of the comments in the other. But that's the point. Oh, and separate in there, in airsoft pistols, the cheap ones are great for disarmament. You know if you fucking move. Just saying. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. If you don't know your rights, you can easily be taken away from you because you don't know they exist. Right? You can say you have the right to something, but do you know how to articulate it? Right? You have a Second Amendment, but what does it mean? That's probably the only amendment that most of us can recite by heart and not fuck up. I fucked up a few tonight, but yeah. Carry a copy of the Constitution. They're not that big. I mean, the ones that I got in my class are like this, right? It's like as big as my beard. So they're not that much. They fit in the back pocket. Okay? And if anyone wants to argue, look, we can go to source, okay? Founding documents, there are many of them. You've got the Constitution, you've got the Bill of Rights, you've got the Articles of Confederation, which is actually the original version of the Constitution that needed to be rewritten into the Constitution. Study that up, research that, okay? There's important factors as to why that happened. You've got Federalist and Federalist Papers. You've got all the correspondence. You've got the Silence Dogood letters. They left a massive paper trail as to who, what, where, when, and why, what they were thinking about why we have the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Don't let some asshole in a fancy suit sitting on a hill that makes too much money say, well, we don't know what the founders intended, so this is how we're interpreting it. No, bitch, look at this right here. This document tells exactly what they intended for that amendment right fucking there.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but if you don't know about that stuff and you don't research that stuff, well, you're not going to know it. I mean, fuck, you can get the Federalist and the Federalist Papers on audiobook. Listen to that shit while you're driving to and from work. That's anywhere from 5 to 50 minutes a day you could be listening to this stuff. Listen to it 5 or 6 times, you'll start to get a grasp of it. What else are you going to do? Listen to the latest pop culture bullshit music? Listen to some random oddities like I do? I mean, you know, whatever. But there are plenty of ways that you could take the time to learn this stuff. There are plenty of ways you can carve out 5 minutes of your day to. How long did it take you to hop online and find that shit about the red flag law, Bubba?
Maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes.
So you got 5-10 minutes. You sat here for about 10 minutes to let it. Take you 5 minutes to shoot an email off to the senator saying, hey, shut this shit down. This is unconstitutional. It goes against this right, this right, this right, this right, and this right. It's a clear violation of our Bill of Rights, the Constitution, due process. If you have that knowledge, it doesn't take long.
No, but the objective of what we're doing is trying to get people the knowledge or a start and grasp of the knowledge. I mean, that was the founding idea behind this webcast tonight.
Yeah.
Was to try to help people try to open more eyes than what we have.
Well, and I have the site that I write for. I'm going to try and make it a blog eventually just so I can get it off of Facebook. It's The Knowledge Movement of America. Sit down and plan on reading because I do things old school. No one really wants to learn by reading, but there are articles that'll take you 5-10 minutes to read. I've gone through each of the amendments, 1 through 10. I'm going to start working on 11 through the rest, 27.
27.
Yep. I'm going to start working on those. That 28th Amendment thing keeps throwing me off. That's the stupidest fucking amendment in the world. If you need an amendment that says your government representatives should fall under the same laws that they make for you, you no longer live in a republic. Just saying. So, you know, 1st through 10 is already done. I'm working on 11. I've started working on the founders, trying to do a little biography on each of them because a lot of those guys, they lost everything making this fucking nation. We only know of a few of them, and I started with John Hancock just because he's got the big fucking signature, and well, story's kind of cool to be honest, but
yeah,
I mean, a lot of them, they were burned out. Their families are dead. They are dead. And it wasn't through fighting on a battlefield. They were tortured to death because they went against the crown. And that's what we're squandering by not learning about this kind of stuff. I mean, it's like this guy, Bales. It's been a long night. It's like Bales just said, all right? The main problem is that they do not teach history or the Constitution anymore. Exactly, because they don't want kids to know it. Just like the story of my nephew earlier. The government can't do wrong. Bullshit, they can. But that's where we come in. It's our job to teach these kids that shit. We've all got kids in our lives, even if we don't have kids of our own. I teach my nephews this shit every chance I get. Got to. No one else will.
I don't know. We setting up for doing another news chat. I want to get that covered too. If you have any ideas on that.
All right. At the moment, I hadn't planned on anything. I mean, I think we'll kind of leave it open. If we want to touch on specific topics like this that are kind of outside the wheelhouse that we've been hitting on, whether it's another current events, whether it's, hey, why don't we dig deeper into the rights? Why don't we dig deeper into this? You know, getting into a political aspect of it, we can do that. And if not, maybe not next month, but the month after, maybe hop into another one like this and see what's going on in the world and locally and things like that. I'll try and keep on more of a topic focus there instead of going off into little tangents. But
well, hopefully we can get the full panel that we were originally wanting to have up tonight.
Yeah. Well, either way, it worked out. I mean, we didn't get as much covered with the local because I didn't plan for as much of that. I was kind of focusing more on getting back up to date on some of the economic news and things like that. And some of my stuff with Russia and China is a little dated, but I try and keep up with everything I can. There's a lot out there.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, and hey, I got the technical aspect down. I'm proud of myself for that. I screenshotted and I didn't fuck up. I'm winning. I'm learning.
Except for the second one.
Well, that's a learning curve, okay? I know I can't fiddle fuck with other tabs while I'm showing a tab. So, learning has occurred.
Yes, it has.
So,
thanks.
Later this month, we are going to be talking about vehicle tactics and techniques. These are going to cover a variety of things in between, you know, what your vehicle says about you, not so much of, I'm a powerful, no, as far as to criminals, as far as to police, government officials, occupational forces, because we're examining that as well. Driving techniques as far as offensive and defensive driving, because the best defense is a good offense. I get a merit badge. I've got a few of those. I was in Boy Scouts back when it was cool.
Weight distribution.
Yep. All different kinds of things. We've got a ton planned for that. Probably going to be another longer one like this, but it's going to be more scheduled on my part, so I won't be rambling on as much as I have been tonight. Which honestly, this would have probably been an hour-long chat if you guys would have kept me under control. But that's all right. So.
Oh, it's the first one. We're trying to.
It's a new one.
We're trying it out.
Yeah. So either way, I knew it was going to happen anyways because I can't get into a discussion about any kind of politics without going off on a fucking tangent. I am actually proud of myself. I kept my ranting under control tonight for the large part. So.
Well, I'm just glad you only have one water bottle.
That goes to another one. I should have brought two. But fuck, I gotta pick that up now. Either way, I had fun.
Yeah.
Our panel had fun, and our lovely audience. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, everyone who decided to tune in later on and watch this after the fact. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You are one step closer to trying to learn a little more about what's going on in the world and not just missing out on your roaming time. I really fucked up my intro, so I had to get that in there. Amateur mistake. I thought I had that thing muted. Anyway, go ahead and say your goodbyes, and we'll close this down.
I think you pretty well covered that one, Romy. I mean, we're just trying to get our current events scheduled, showing up, and try and get people informed. This way, we have a knowledge base out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the biggest hurdle we wanted to try to accomplish with tonight's show.
Yeah. Well, and like the caption said, you know, you can't be ready for the zombie apocalypse if you can't see it coming. And the only way to see it coming is to look outside and see what's going on in the world.
Yeah, history repeats itself.
Like a record skipping in a player. Bubba?
You got it covered, dude.
I'll say your first show, and this is how you're going to go out.
Right? Come on, give us an outro. Let us know who the fuck you are.
I'm Bubba. I'm probably the shipmaster. Don't forget there's here at my house in 2 weeks. I get Romy time then. Hopefully I get Michael time too.
Yes.
Yeah. Working on
And you're
vehicles
gonna
yet.
fund my sister Romy.
I don't want. That's Pat.
Yeah, that's
I'm
wrong.
probably going to make her head
Wrong.
explode with all of my non-liberalism.
No, you're gonna piss her off. That's what you're gonna do.
Probably hide your guns.
Well, that won't be too hard.
All right. Well, it's been fun, everyone. We'll see you on the next one. Later.
Have a good night.